Good morning, everybody. I don't know how loud I am on this thing. Um, My name is Elizabeth Gillis, and I'm introducing you to the first of our fall series for Life at the Forest. We do this 2 times a year, once in the fall and once in the spring. So we are very fortunate today to have Anita Holt as our first speaker. Anita is a seasoned professional in the field of aging services with over 30 years of experience, executive leadership in continuing care and senior living communities, and a Pittsburgh native. She has a master of, I have to put my glasses on, I'm so sorry, because I thought I could do this without them. Much better. She has a Master of Public Health degree from Boston University and is a proud graduate of Northeastern University. Anita believes our resident community can continue to learn and contribute through meaningful engagement as a part of their daily lives. She is also an advocate of active growth and staff members and nurtures the relationships between residents and staff to create an environment where everyone feels welcome. Anita.
Thank you. Thanks. So somebody has to turn me on. Did you do that? Okay. Everybody can hear, and it's not too loud. All right. So good morning. It's good to see. I've been doing this for 10 years, and this is the first time I've had more new residents than some residents who actually came every time for 10 years. So congrats, I'm happy. And I would like to take an opportunity to introduce Sharon Pitt, who is our Chief Operating Officer, who's also here. And just so you know who she is. And Sharon's been with us about 5 years, has it been? And she came the month before COVID, so that's called trial by fire. But certainly we're glad to have her. So you might wonder, life at the forest, you've not entered an alternate dimension. It's not the Twilight Zone. It's not so different here. It's not another planet far, far away. But it is different. We are in a community in a different way. And so this series is just to help give you some background information. But because you are here, we know that you know how to navigate life, and we don't need to teach you. So we will respect that, but just give you a little back pocket information to make it easier. Now, some of you may be looking at me wondering what the heck is going on. This is when bad Botox happens to good people. So I'm having a little eye lift problem, but I have not had a stroke, as one of my teammates was sitting there ready to call 911. And I didn't walk into a wall. So that's just where I am. I was going to wear sunglasses, but I can't see with them, so just bear with me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our history at the forest. Next slide. And I do want to share with you, we are 34 years old. This was an old family farm. In fact, our board chair grew up in this neighborhood, and he said he used to ride bikes and dirt bikes and things through here when he was a kid. So we know that the development certainly is in the latter half. It started as a result, a grassroots origin from the neighborhood of Duke Forest. A group of physicians and professors and folks who lived in Duke Forest, when the land became available, actually arranged to purchase it and determined that what they were going to do with it, and rather than have it subdivided, certainly. And out of that grew the desire to do something in aging and to create continuing care retirement communities. At that time, most communities were faith-based. If they developed at all, they came out of the, and we say this with quotes around it, the home for the aged, and which was usually ministers and missionaries if it was faith-based. But actually, we were really cutting edge. We were one of the few that was not a faith-based organization, that did not come up from that milieu of service, and actually developed as a result, not unlike Pine Ridge in Pennsylvania, that started as a completely independent not faith-based, not university-based retirement community. We are not owned by Duke. We are not a partner of Duke. This is a separate single entity, as it has always been. Mr. Shells, can you hear me? So when we look at this, and I will tell you that in working on our strategic plan this past year, we've actually done some revision to our vision and mission, but it's mostly the same. And that just has not been finally approved by the board yet, so it's not included here. But a community living and working in harmony, obviously, it's a lot of people. It's a lot more people than we've had to be concerned with in our lives up to moving to this community. So there's some give and take and giving each other grace and finding out how to make it work and make it work for everyone. And our mission is certainly to provide that caring, responsible community for residents in our community. And what we've taken out of that is it's our job to remove barriers. We don't need to teach anybody how to live. You all are very adept at doing that. You know what you want, you know what you like, you know what you need. And so our job is really to make sure that our community can meet you where you are and provide the right space for you to be in. Our values are the same as they have always been, and they really exist around quality and excellence, support, most importantly, respect for our team members, accountability, own what we do, and integrity, do as we said. And then community responsibility. We are one of the few communities, most not-for-profit CCRCs have a social accountability responsibility. Some people meet that because they have unreimbursed care, they participate in the Medicaid program, those kinds of things that meet that obligation. We do not. But as a result, we have developed a very robust program meeting the needs and trying to address the needs of those in our community who serve those who are most at risk. So we have a grant and awards program for not-for-profits. We have 33 community partners. They are serving children and families and homelessness, substance abuse, culture, education, and food deserts and food necessity. So we have found a way to make a community impact on a consistent basis by being a very vibrant and participative member in the larger Durham community. And then, in essence, we have something that's called the Forest Way. The Forest Way says, I own what I see, I assume good intent, I am there for a reason, and it's not just about a paycheck, that the job is part of our DNA, it's what we do, that our relationships are the most important outcome. And the Forest Way speaks to certain work behaviors that all of our team members are aware of. Now, we're not all perfect every day, and there's some days we have some mighty good forgetfulness, but it's a reminder, we put it in front of people, we talk about it, we encourage it, we recognize it, and we reward it so that it is part of our culture. So I share that with you. Most of you are Terraces residents as I look out, and what I want to share with you is you are part of our fully built-out campus of 47 acres. We now have 220 apartments, 81 cottages. We have expanded our community center except for one fire door, and if we can get the fire department and the city of Durham to talk together, we can figure out how to get that last door open, and we've submitted a plan. We hope we're there, but it's lovely to traverse between state, city, and county government, and then, the local folks. So we're having a good time. But we have expanded our community center with a lot more space, giving us a lot more options, all on one level. You can, in fact, walk from, as soon as that door is done, from one end of the campus all the way to the health center, so that it provides access and more space and more opportunities to program and to use. We recently just renamed our health center the Cohen Center for Health after Dr. Harvey J. Cohen, who has been with us from the beginning, left, came back, has been on our board, was one of the founding partners. He is the emeritus head of the Center for Aging at Duke. And really, I didn't realize till I was here for a little bit that I realized that in grad school, I actually read some of his work in terms of informing aging studies. I just never made the connection. And then I did, and I was absolutely awed. But I think the thing that I love most about honoring Harvey is that he was someone who had an original vision, who could come back and recognize that we had changed, grown, and that the world was different, and he was all on board for us meeting the challenge in the present. So we've been very lucky to have him as a guiding principle for us in healthcare. Our annual budget runs about $33 million, and we spend most of that in operating. We separate out we generate about $2.5 million annually for capital asset repair and replacement, and obviously the rest of that, I think from the $28 million it costs to operate, the rest goes to pay down debt and to meet our reserves. The Forest at Duke is very lucky that we have always met all of our covenants, and we continue to do so. People think, and when someone says to me, including my mom, what you do at the nursing home? And I'm like, Mom, I don't work in a nursing home. I work in a retirement community. People just like you are here doing everything that you do. But yes, we have all of those services. What people don't recognize is that a CCRC includes administration, health services, dining services, community life, and general services. Basically, every aspect of life that you can think of, we've got something to do with. That's really helpful when I'm talking to possible and future employees about what are your options here. Well, you can create a career. You think you're the chief of accounting of blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? You can build an accounting career here. Or you could do hotel management and hospitality. All of those things are part of what we do. It keeps us busy. We're never bored. Next slide. We are a 501c3. We are not for profit. That is the usual status for most continuing care retirement communities. That is one of the ways in which we are able to do our funding at a lower rate, so that when we do capital acquisition for a building, et cetera, we tend to do not-for-profit or tax-exempt bonds. We also provide benevolent care, and let me tell you what that is. If through no reason of your own you should outlive your resources, the forest will not ask you to leave. We are able to continue. We feel that you've made a commitment to our community. We make a commitment to you. So it is unusual. That does not usually happen. But if it does, that commitment is that you will not be asked to leave. And again, by being a not-for-profit, we have different levels of access to capital. We are governed by a voluntary board of directors. It's currently 15 members. And it is a board that has diverse community representation. We have some folks from Duke. We have people in the private sector in resource development. We have lawyers. We have wealth, what are they called now? Wealth advisors. Yeah, they used to be financial planners, but they don't like that term anymore. Education. So that we have some diverse perspectives, folks, all of who are in leadership in one way or another or bring professional expertise. In addition, our board has 3 resident members who are full members of the board. You will hear from the Resident Association chair later today. Those 3 board members, they are full board members. They are not restricted, but they are board members. They are not a resident advocacy group. They look at as boards do, the long range, the current practice, and long range. They set the tone for operating. They determine the key metrics, and they make sure that we are on point. In terms of our programmatic affiliation, as I shared earlier, we are not a member of Duke University. We are not owned or operated by the university or the medical center. However, we are extremely blessed in that our physician group is contracted from Duke University Medical Center and the geriatric practice. So we have always had geriatricians here as part of our clinic team. They serve as attending physicians in the health center. We are also tied into the geriatric residency program, which allows residents to be here. So we are getting the best of the best in our field here at the Forest, and it is a relationship that has served us well. As we move forward. Next slide. So CARF, the accreditation program, it's a national accrediting body, and it used to be just for rehab facilities, but as with everything that morphs over time, they bought up a lot of other agencies. CCAC used to be the accrediting agency for continuing care retirement communities. We were bought out by CARF. They have been our leader for probably about 15 years now. We are accredited by them. That's a 5-year accreditation. We've always received it without recommendation or need for change, having met all of the standards. And there's about 1,400 standards that you have to meet in order to be accredited. So we're pleased with that. We are Fitch rated triple B minus at this point. We have recently, because we reinvest in yourself, that kind of goes back and down. It was higher, but when we spent money to reinvest in our campus, it impacts your bond rating. It's down. We expect it to go back up within the next 2 to 3 years as we pay down our debt, but we're very comfortable with that. And there are only, out of 2,500 CCRCs in the country, I think there are less than 200 that are Fitch rated. The North Carolina, we are visited by every regulatory agency you could name. We have the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. We have the North Carolina Department of Insurance. We have the County Health Department. And we have also assisted living and then our accreditation ratings. So by the time you finish, we get surveyed a lot, and then sometimes we just get good drop-in visits. And the day you really want to pound your head against the wall is when they say, by the way, can we drop by? We have 5 new surveyors, and we want to train them at the forest. But yes, that's a compliment, but it really doesn't make anybody's stomach sit real good. We are Energy Star registered and Music and Memory certified, which is a program that we use with dementia and in the health center. We are always looking at the ways in which we can tap in to better resources and best practice. Most recently, we've invested in small house Eden training for our health center, which is really looking at how to maximize the use of a small house as a purveyor of care in a skilled nursing facility, and what that looks like, tastes like, feels like, not only for the resident, but for the team members who are being challenged to work in a very different way. The challenge there is to be non-siloed. The challenge there is to be led by resident perspective, resident desire. The sentence that is used most often, from a resident perspective in the health center, nothing for us without us. In a small house, you can determine when dinner happens. You don't have to wake people up for 10 o'clock meds if they're sleeping. You can adjust things. You have more freedom than kind of the more hospital, medically based healthcare center. So again, and that's a process. That's everybody learning how to redo what they have done in traditional health centers. Next slide. So there's a couple other things in terms of resident information. I know everybody was excited, particularly our terrace residents, all your upgrades, what's going in, what's working, how do I get from here to there, and do I have the right blinds, doorknobs, and do I have enough ports everywhere and the right lights, all that good stuff. I would remind you that when you settle down, and I know your children, your lawyer, your financial planners have all read your contract. I would remind you at some other point, when you can breathe a little bit, read your contract again, because your contract is the contract between the resident and the forest, and that's the basis of all service expectations, et cetera. So again, I just want to remind you that it's there. And the other thing that happens is that each year we file a disclosure statement that is required by the Department of Insurance. It is meant to be a real-life explanation of, in real language, not gobbledygook, of what happens in the CCRC. It talks about who we are, what our programs and services are, what our current contract is, who the board is, what our 5-year financial forecast is, and it is available on their website and under the North Carolina Department of Insurance, and there's a disclosure statement for every licensed CCRC in the state, of which there are 68, I believe. And again, it is not the kind of reading you want to do if you're in danger of falling asleep, and don't print it out and read it in a tub. You'll be drowned by the morning. But I would invite you to look at it, and if you have questions, that's a place where you can go. And certainly anyone here on staff, and particularly Karen Henry, our CFO, is able to answer any questions you might have in that vein. I do believe we have it available also in the library and maybe in connections, but I'm not sure. So, and then the resident handbook, which recently was updated and is scheduled to be updated again. And at least we have a good base on one computer in one place, Elizabeth, so that should be easy this time. Um, and it is information guidelines, and it's a policy resource. So again, information that's available to you. Next slide. We are a community that practices non-discrimination in all of its forms, and certainly welcoming to everyone in our community, both as residents and team members, guests, and visitors. We do have a firearms prohibition. Firearms are prohibited in all public spaces. We actually have a policy now without allowing firearms on campus. People who were grandfathered in, this is North Carolina, we did grandfather in people who had, but they had to declare, and they have to have a means of disposal, so that if someone is not able for health reasons, everything, how do we get rid of the gun, et cetera. If you don't have that and something happens, we will have the police remove guns from the house. But we want to be a gun-free campus, and that's what our policy does. And we've been gun-free, I believe, in new admissions for at least the past year. If you have questions, please ask Nathan Summers, he's Director of Community Services, or see Sharon or I, and we can certainly help you there. Okay. In terms of insurance, we carry insurance. We carry general liability, we carry property, we carry malpractice, all of that good stuff. But residents are required to have renter's insurance, and that is something that is specified in your residence and care agreement. And I will give you an example, because I've been in places where this has happened. Somebody accidentally left their sink, the water running in the sink, and of course they left. And it ran, and it ran, and it ran, and ran, and ran, and of course it went downstairs. So yes, we handle the outside, your renter's insurance handles the inside, and that's how that works. And I suspect it's not dissimilar from what people may have with condos, where the organization owns the outside, you own the inside in that way for coverage. Yes, ma'am. Mhm. We have never set the limit for anyone. I know that personally, that's the amount I carry, and I live there in an apartment. Hmm? Okay, all right. Um, and so let's talk a little bit about no tipping. There are people you are going to meet in the course here, and you're going to love. You're going to love everything they've ever done for you. You just are going to think they're the most special person, your buddy. And that's great. But there are 1,000 other people behind them that you may never see. In other words, every meal you eat is made easier because we have dishwashers. You may never see them, but I can tell you without dishwashers, we don't eat, okay? You may not know who does the carpet in the middle of the night. You may not know the security person that's rounding. So we don't do tips or cash gifts or gifts to employees from residents. And in fact, I need you to know and understand that if you give an employee a gift, they have to report it. I usually have to return it back to you. And if the employee accepts the gift, they could be terminated, okay? So I want you to really understand that we are very serious about that. But we do have a way in which we recognize in an equitable way all employees, save the management team, and that is through the Employee Appreciation Fund. And that is generated twice a year and is distributed to employees based on length of service and full or part-time status. And the Resident Association leads that fund. They determine the formula. Staff does not. All we do is facilitate getting the check out. But I would advise you that if you want to recognize staff, we want to be equitable in recognizing not only those that you see, but those that you don't, who contribute to your life here at the forest. So the Employee Appreciation Fund is how that is handled, and we would encourage folks to participate when and as they can. Next slide. So here's the good part. So grievances. First of all, let me be the first to tell you, if something's sitting in your craw, don't let it stay there. Talk to somebody. Something didn't work out quite right or you were expecting something different, please let somebody know. Because there's nothing worse than we find out, well, 3 months ago, blah, blah, blah happened. And it is so far removed from a chance to do something about it that it's not helpful. So don't sit on anything. Don't be mean. I can be fragile. Not much, but anyway. But please, certainly, don't sit on anything. Let us know what your concerns are if you have an issue or a question. But if you have a concern that you don't feel has been resolved or you're not satisfied with the answer, then please, start with where the problem is, go to a director, go to a supervisor, or a department director. You can certainly, we have an email address, TFAD, the Forest Duke Responds. You can send an email to that, and that's checked daily. But also, if you really aren't getting where you need to go and you're still feeling like this is a problem, we do have a formal grievance process, and that is putting your complaint or concern in writing, and it comes to me. I have 10 days to review and respond. I automatically, just as a matter of course, I share anything that I receive as a complaint with my executive committee of my board, just so that they're aware. If my response, which will be formal and written, is still not satisfactory, you have the ability to appeal to the board of directors, which goes directly to their executive committee. However, the executive committee rule is final, that you will have exhausted your opportunities internally to have something addressed. But before we get that, let's have a conversation, because most things can be worked out at the conversation level. Sometimes it's a matter of awareness, sometimes it's a matter of just sharing something with someone else, or sometimes it's an opportunity to correct a staff behavior and say, this is the way we need to do this in the future, now you know. So again, our goal is to resolve issues, but if you feel that the need is greater, there is a process, and please use it. And that's just helpful. It lets us address what's in front of you. So our team, you will be meeting most of our team, but most of you, I think, have met many folks. As I'm here, and Sharon, you've just met. Karen Henry is our Chief Financial Officer. Karen has been here 20 years. Karen is probably one of the best CFOs in the state, in our industry. There are 5 of them that are just top-notch. And every time there's something new that's going on, Karen gets asked to be a part of the new policy, the new procedure, or the team that's working on things. And so we are delighted and very thankful for her. Leanne Bailey Clayton has also been here in excess of 20 years, but she started out as a social worker for about 17 years, then took an AIT, administrator in training, got licensed as a nursing home administrator, serves as an assistant administrator, and is now a director of health services and has responsibility for the health center as well as the clinic operations. April Ravelli, you all know, a director of sales and marketing. She's been here, I believe, 8 years, and she's really ushered us in from old marketing behaviors to new marketing behaviors. When she first started talking digital marketing, I was like, why do I have to look at your phone to get a marketing report? And now I'm so glad I know how. And she has just done a marvelous job with her team. Nathan Summer is Director of Community Services, and his responsibilities are dining, transportation, maintenance, housekeeping, and security. Basically, if it touches a resident life and it is not clinical, that's where he lives. He has several supervisors, and we just brought on a new a GM for dining, and Catherine's been here 2 weeks, and she is a tornado whirlwind, so we're excited to have her here. And Sarah Haney is the Director of Community Life, And so she's had all of this building, all of the new building, things on campus, things off campus. And she and her team have really developed into one of the most vibrant teams that we have here in terms of creating a multiplicity of activities, programs, et cetera. And the deal is, it's not linear because not everybody likes to do everything at the same time. Yes, you will have choice. When you're doing a retirement community well, it means you can go here, or you can go here, or you can do this, or you can go do that. And those are the options. So you're meeting the needs and express needs of the residents who are here. The other part of that equation is just because you did X on Saturday doesn't mean it can't be a rerun on Thursday or a smaller group the following week. So that gives people a chance. If you couldn't do it the first time, you can do it the second time, et cetera. So, and we're playing around to find what's the sweet spot right now with everybody coming on board. So we're going to have some hits. We may have some misses, but it will not be for lack of trying, and certainly your feedback is welcome. There's one other person in the room, and I'm not going to make you stand up because you sat in the back, so I know that's what you're telling me, but just when you go out, look in the back. Takitha Collins is our director of the Forest at Home, which is our internal home care agency. And she is amazing because she has redefined home care at the Forest. And I say that because it's about, what do you need help with? And can we do it? Can we be assistive? Is it companionship? Is it a CNA or certified nursing assistant? Some of our staff acts as a business assistant for someone, but it's an opportunity to help you, if you choose, to get over something you need. But on a more serious level, it can also help people in transition, recovering post-acute from a hospital or surgery, and you need a little bit of help, or waiting for a transition in care, or waiting for some service and need some help. But there's no end to her creativity, so if you're thinking about it, ask him when you get a chance to listen to what our home care program does, please take it, because I don't know, Takitha, I think I had some things for you to do for me. But we have just been really very delighted to see our program expand and grow and meet the needs of our residents. And right now, we do not have a director of human resources. We have two human resource generalists, and we are working with a consultant who really has done some real high-level intervention, correction, and assessment of the department as we move forward. We will be recruiting for that job, but our human resource needs are being met by the staff that we have and in consultation with the consultant that we are using. And then last but certainly not least is Rashad Wilson, who's Director of Information Systems. We're really pleased that Rashad has really looked at the whole of the house, has looked with an administrative lens to all of what we provide, not only for residents, but for team members. In the old days, it used to be IT, the boys in the back who bought the computers. Well, that is not what's going on now. It's about what is our infrastructure, cybersecurity, what do we connect to because we bought the software, what's on the cloud, how do we manage access, communication, how do we boost for resident access, and add more because everybody's connected to something. And making sure that that works for all of us. And that is always a work in progress because technology is not slow. And so we continue to work with that. The next slide is an organization chart that I know I can't read when I see it. And it's still small, but it's in there. But it is also posted in the connections room. I think it may be in the resident handbook. And it was on the table. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. That's wonderful. So you have that. And we try to update as there are changes. Fortunately, there haven't been too many changes lately. Next slide. And I know you're probably happy I'm coming to the last slide. So we have a variety of ways of communication. And a friend of mine uses a quote, and I can't remember who it's from, but it said the greatest fallacy of communication is to assume that it has happened. Because communication is so different for everybody, how and ways people receive information. But in a standardized way, twice a year we offer an executive staff update. That is actually required by law. And in our organization, we use the fall executive staff update to review the budget for the coming year, the strategic plan, and the special initiatives. And in the spring, we kind of talk about the status of the organization, state of the union, et cetera, any particular challenges coming up. We do community-wide meetings as necessary. And then we also do the Residents Association is a full-on committee, which Jim will talk about a little bit later, but we as leadership team participate in their board meetings, committee meetings, and caucuses, so that, again, that's a point of communication and follow-up. Coffee and conversation is something that is done for a smaller group because not everybody likes to be in a room of 100 people or so to talk about something. And it's usually topic-driven, and it's provided by one of the leadership team or a special program. And what we try to do is have about 45 people in the room, and we try to do coffee and conversation at least 3 times. It tends to be once in the morning, once in the afternoon. It might be once in the evening, or it might be once again the next day. If we find that we get overflowing, we have found that on occasion we can do 4, but 4 really wears the team member out. And so we have tried to make sure that we cover that. And if we've got something that's really important, then we will also try to film it and make sure it's available. We also have written means of communication, which include the Forest Forward, which is our weekly newsletter. We have Channel 1390, it's up and going. Yeah, it had a moment, but I understand that it's back up and going. It's an in-house TV station. We do special announcements through internal distribution. Sometimes it's mailbox, and sometimes it's directly in resident homes. And then we also have Cubigo, which is our portal, which allows us to post information. It's got a full network of things that can use. We're now using it, the system for meals and checkout, et cetera. It's a new system that still has bugs in it. We keep working with it, and we'll continue to do so. And then the last means of communication is a telephone emergency network system, notification system, and that calls every resident when there's a power outage, there's a storm warning, there's something unusual that's happened. We use that. It's important that you make sure your cell number is the number that you give us, and it's the correct one. The notice goes out. If you change your cell number, please let security know. If you find out that a notice went out and you didn't get it, or you hear that you didn't get it, please let security know so we can go back in. Periodically, you're going to have glitches, as you do with any software system. So we do try to stay on top of that, and we do try to test that periodically so that we know that it is working as it should. So all in all, there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving parts. You're brand new, and quite frankly, in moving in, there's so much else that you're going to be concerned with. What I would invite you to do is sit on it, think on it a while. If you have questions, ask them. If we can't answer when the moment you ask, we will try to find out as quickly as possible. And the other thing is come back in the spring, because then you'll know more and you'll have some. But I will open it up for any quick questions because I don't want to take away from Jim's time. Yes, sir. So that is, and so I am not an insurance person, and let me state clearly, I am not giving insurance advice. I can only tell you my experience is I have liability and I have property, and those 3 things. That the insurance company will tell you exactly what you need. Okay. Anyone else? Well, I thank you for your time. I look forward to getting to know more than just your names as we continue to move on. Thank you for being here, and we're delighted to have you. Yeah.